Clemson, and this is my TED Talk presentation. So for my TED Talk, I decided to do Cameron Harold. He gave a TED Talk in Edmonton where he talked about how we should be raising kids to be entrepreneurs, and what he talked about is school systems nowadays have it set up where kids have to go and get a degree, and then they have to go on and get their master's, and they're teaching kids to be doctors or lawyers and stuff. But no school systems are teaching kids like the creative thinking side where they can express themselves and be entrepreneurs. And he said it's really important to be teaching and raising your kids to be entrepreneurs because everyone wants their kids to work for these big companies and work in corporate and stuff, but they don't realize that how can you work for a corporation if there are no corporations, and entrepreneurs are the ones who start these big businesses. He also talks like his entire life was him being an entrepreneur from when he's a little kid, and he's teaching his kids how to be entrepreneurs because it's a really important skill to have. So I picked this TED Talk because it really relates to my career. So in February, I'm graduating with my master's degree, and then afterwards, I would like to start my own business and be an entrepreneur. And because I just have that like strong like passion for entrepreneurship because I'm very organized and like detail driven and stuff. So I want to be an entrepreneur. And like this TED Talk talked about how like to be an entrepreneur, so I think that's why it relates to my field because like I'm getting my business degree, so I know the concepts to become an entrepreneur. So I think that's really important. So that's why I chose this one because it relates to my business field. So this TED Talk not only relates to like my business field, but also relates to our class concept of creativity. So creativity enables entrepreneur activities because with entrepreneurship you have to be really creative and like think outside of the box of how you can start this idea that's going to make profit, and that all talks about creativity. And you also have to be creative when coming up with a business idea if you want to be an entrepreneur, because it has to be an idea that makes you money, because it's one thing to be an entrepreneur, but if you start a business that you're not making money, you can't provide for yourself, and it can't be like your living and your source of income. And then he also talked about in this video how like entrepreneurships allow us to think of like it's like a whole new level of creativity because you're starting your own business and it entails so much. It's a whole new level of creative thinking. And then with creativity, like you're being creative of how to provide for yourself and come up with a new source of income by creating your own business. And then if I was in the audience at this TED Talk, the first question I would ask Cameron is, how do you suggest schools teach kids to be entrepreneurs? Because in the beginning he talked about how school systems are teaching like, it's the standardized testing and stuff, and they're teaching kids how to like, once you do high school, then you go to college, and then you will get your MBA. And he like thinks that schools should steer away from that. So I would ask him how he suggests schools are teaching entrepreneurs. My second question is, what ideas do you have to eliminate the stigma that you have to go on to get your MBA? So we talked about how, all these schools and like families are making it to where you have to go on to get your master's. And he did, in his TED Talk, he talked about how he asked people like, oh, what do you want to get your master? What do you want to get it in your master's? And they like didn't know, they just came up with things. So people are just getting their masters in things they don't even know what that master could allow them to do or what it's for. So I would ask him how to eliminate that stigma that you have to go on and get your master's when in reality you don't. And my third and final question for Cameron would be, as an entrepreneur, how do you live your life differently than someone who is not one? So he talked in his TED Talk how he's been an entrepreneur his whole life. And he's like never like worked for anyone because like he tried it once and it just wasn't his fit. So I just would want to know how he lives his life differently and like how he thinks differently throughout his day, since he has that entrepreneurial thinking as to someone who isn't. And that's my presentation.